Assalamu alaikum children. How are you all? Hope you all are very fine. Children, today I am going to start your new chapter 9, that is Organisms and Habitat. Now let us see what are the learning outcomes of this lesson. After the completion of this lesson, you will be able to explain the characteristics of living things and you can differentiate materials and organisms on the basis of their properties and you can classify organisms and components of habitat as biotic and abiotic and you can understand different habitats and organisms living there and you can take necessary steps to protect habitats. Now let us enter into our lesson. Here in our lesson, Lata went on a field trip to the village pond with her classmates and teacher also. She enjoyed the several things she saw in the pond, different from what she could see around her house. Her teacher showed them eggs of all sorts of creatures. Right below the lotus leaf was the snail's egg, and within the leafy bushes at the side of the pond were eggs of a fish and many more. The several organisms found in the pond varied from very small to quite larger ones. Her teacher explained that organisms were living things. Along with these, non living things were also present in the pond. Now, our Lata expressed a doubt. She has a doubt. Chairs and tables also have four legs like buffalo, but they cannot move. Why? Trees cannot move, but they can produce seeds which give birth to new plants. How do we know whether some things are living and some other things are non living? Do all living things have common characteristics that make them different from non living things? Do you know that you are a living being? How can you say that you are a living being? You will notice that there are many characteristics of living things. What are the characteristics of living things? Children, now let us know the answers for all these questions which were expressed by Lata in our lesson. Now let us see. Let us know the main characteristics of living things. Living things, they move, they reproduce, they are sensitive to atmospheric conditions and they need nutrition. They get rid of waste, they breathe and they grow. So, as the living things grow, breathe, respond, reproduce, they need food and water and they die. So, these are the main characteristics of living things. Now, let us see the characteristics of non living things. They doesn't move, they doesn't grow, they doesn't develop their babies. They are not made up of cells. They doesn't breathe, they doesn't use energy, they doesn't need food and also water, and at the same time they cannot reproduce. These are the characteristics of non-living things. Based on this, we can divide a thing into a living or a non-living thing. Children, now let us see in detail the characteristics of living things. You can see in this picture movement of a living thing. Most of the living things move from one place to another. They have the organs for movement like legs, wings, fins, etc. Certain living things such as plants do not move from one place to another as they are fixed to the soil. Now let us see food. Acquiring food is also a character of living things. They acquire food for getting energy. Living things also need water. in order to survive. Now let us see. All living organisms inhale and exhale air from their surroundings. Many organisms have specialized organs for it. Plants have a specialized organ called stomata for exchange of gases. Now, we human beings breathe with our nose. Get rid of waste. Both plants and also animals produce waste materials during life processes. They get rid of it by a process called as excretion. We respond to our surroundings. Not only animals but also respond to their surroundings. Now you can see here a plant that is responding to the sun's heat. You can see here reproduction. All living organisms give birth to young ones. Among them, some animals lay eggs and some give birth to their young ones. Animals that lay eggs are called as oviparous and that give birth directly to young ones are called viviparous. Plants produce seeds. Now let us see response to stimuli. Responding to stimulus, the living things show response to the stimulus in their surroundings. A change in the surroundings that make organisms respond to it is called stimulus. When you step on a sharp object, what would you do? You will take back your feet. Is it not, children? So it is called as responding to stimuli. And it's very interesting to observe a touch me not, Atipatti or mimosa plant. Touch it. After touching it, what happens? You can observe. When you touch, like you can see in this picture, first in the first picture, first twig is normal. When we lightly touch, in the second picture you can see how the leaves or you can see the change in the leaves. Now you can see in the third mimosa twig, when you touch hard, at the time the leaves will become, they will close like this. So it is also responding to its surroundings. And we can also see plants growing towards light. Plants respond to light. Now we can say this buffalo is a living thing as it need food and water and it breathe and it grow, it respond to its surroundings and it reproduce and also it is having death. So that we can say that buffalo is a living thing and chair as it doesn't respond to its surroundings, it doesn't grow, it doesn't need food and water, it doesn't breathe, it doesn't reproduce, so that we can say that chair is a non-living thing. Now you can identify which things are which materials are living and which are non-living. So children, let us continue our lesson in our next session. Up to that, be happy. Allah Hafiz.